Welcome back, everyone. So I got the shop all heated up nice today. It's definitely getting warmer out and starting to feel a little springy, and it's been raining and melting a ton of snow. So I'm working on Sanford, and I'm nice and cozy, and we're crossing some stuff off the list. So check this out. So this is Sanford's old windshield, and I blew the glass out of it, and it's all rusted out and everything and stuff. So a while back I picked up this windshield from the swap meet, and it's a CJ windshield actually. So but none of the wiper stuff was in it. So I ended up I had to gut the YJ, and I thought all this stuff would just transfer over, but it doesn't. So the holes for the wipers were they're considerably bigger, and this is a, what is it? Yeah, that's the wiper arms for the CJ stuff. So what I ended up doing was I took all the YJ guts out. I drilled open the holes here, and then just took my little 3/16 chainsaw bar file and filed the two little ears that keeps that all from twisting, and everything else went right in. So that was super easy, but time consuming. I don't know, it only took an hour or two. But now I got wipers and everything in there, so that's going to be huge because it is spring and it's muddy, and yeah, so I'm glad to get that done. And now I'm moving on to doing this tie rod. So I got all my pieces and parts here. I'm going to cut the DOM to length and get this thing done. So let's get going on her. So my tie rod from tie rod end to tie rod end is 54 1/4. So I just set my heim joints 54 1/4 center to center apart, and that gave me from the shoulder where the tubing's going to go to the shoulder with the tubing there, it's 47 1/2. So I got my tube marked for 47 1/2. This is 1.5" quarter wall DOM that I'm using. So this should be pretty beefy, way better than this stock, whatever 1990s Dodge tie rod is. So yeah, let's get this cut and get these things jammed in here. So in typical fashion, you get a little going a little too fast. This is the leftover part of my tie rod. That is my tie rod, and for some reason I set that aside and decided to put a nice bevel on the end of this extra tubing. So yeah, pay attention, slow down, whatever. All right, now that I'm using the right piece of tubing, I got everything beveled up, the rod ends are in, and roughly, so if I put a tape on her from there to there, I am at my 54 1/4. So and these are right and left hand heims, so I can adjust it like a turnbuckle and get my toe in and all that stuff good. So yeah, let's get this thing burned in. Alrighty, I got the ends all welded in there, and yeah, we're ready to send this thing off to powder coat. So we'll give her a little of this. I always like to do it when it's nice and hot, just let it all just bake right in there. So that's all the quality Sanford gets. Boy, I must really be wanting to get this thing done, because I started painting it and I forgot on one or the other ends I got to put a tab on here for my hydraulic ram. So yeah, I got to mount this up, and then well, at first I got to drill the holes in the knuckles for a 3/4 inch bolt, and then I got to put something like this tab on for the hydro assist ram to bolt to. So I guess I'm not going to powder coat just yet. I prefer quantity over quality, so we're gonna put this. Okay, so I got the tie rod off. I just got to drill this knuckle hole out, well, both sides, to 3/4 inch, and that'll fit the heims. And then I took my ram off, and I think it's pretty well straight. I don't know, it might have just a tiny bow to it, but all I did is stuck it in a shackle and just kind of gave her a little cranky, and looks like it's gonna be good enough for what I do. I'll bring my other one as a spare, but I'm gonna throw this on, and if it leaks and pukes and maybe I break the piston off, I don't know, but I'm gonna put it back on and reuse it. So yeah, typical Sanford fashion. I am going to try this step bit for drilling these holes. Usually a drill bit walks and wobbles all over and breaks your wrists and everything, and this should hopefully plow through these knuckles pretty easily. So I'm going to give it a try, and it's got a tiny little shank on it. I think that's an 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch shank, and if it does catch, most likely it'll break, and I'll end up doing it with a drill bit anyway, but to me it's worth a shot. Step bit for the win. That took literally about 10 seconds, and the bolt drops right in. Didn't catch, didn't break my wrists. Yeah, very, very good way to go. I'm going to show you just how quick this went. And just like that, my knuckles are ready to go for these heim joints. So my old tie rod has this bracket on it, and that's for the ram assist to go on. And as you can see, it's not like a clamp that I can loosen up and adjust. So if you do need to make any tie rod adjustments, you're basically one full turn no matter what. You know, you're not going to fine tune, which on Sanford there is no fine tuning, but yeah, so you're going to always have to go one full turn to get this to line up properly. So I went ahead, just pulled the tape, did kind of a rough, because I know with the bent tie rod, I know I was towed in really bad. So I got it pretty well balanced out. I think between tire to tire, 60.5 inches. And so it's pretty much 60.5 front and back. So now I'm going to mount that tab on there. Hopefully we're close enough. Like I say, it'll be maybe a little bit of adjustment after that, but believe it or not, with a bent tie rod, welded front end, no hubs, Sanford will do 70 down the freeway, and I can let my hands off the wheel and it'll take me where I want to go. So I'm not too worried about alignment and stuff, and I don't get like a lot of road wear. I don't drive this every day. So but I think we're close enough, and I'm going to figure out this little bracket now. Well, I was digging around looking for steel to make these tabs out of, and in my typical lazy fashion, I figured I'd just cut the ones that were on this tie rod off and reuse those. So I'll get those cleaned up. And as I was digging around, I don't have spacers on these heims. They're sitting pretty much flat on the knuckle. There's a little tiny room, but as those knuckles go, they kind of swing up and down, and so there'll be a little bit of movement. So there is some 3/4 inch tubing on this, what used to be, I believe, a dash bar, and those were spreaders that came from the roof down to the dash bar in a roll cage. So I'm going to cut a couple little spacers out of this, and yeah, this project's just about done. Alright, I got the ram set in there and stuff. I can push it in and out. It does have a sticky spot in it, but it definitely, if I can do it by hand, it's not going to be an issue. It may leak a little out of the seal, but whatever. So yeah, in my laziness, I got these tabs all ready to go, everything lined up actually. So yeah, I'm going to burn these things on, then I can powder coat. Alrighty, we're all burned in. Now I can finally powder coat this thing. Ooh, look at her shine. I did kind of half-assed wipe the grease off of this thing, so my paint might stick. I didn't Scotch-Brite or sand or do anything on it, but it's going to probably get plenty of sanding from rocks and stumps and trees and other vehicles. So we're good. We'll give it, and yeah, no hanging wires. We'll just roll it right over. So Sanford is a used and abused machine, and yeah, it doesn't get any special treatment. It just gets stuff that makes it work, and we do what we can with what we got. So this is what we got, and I'm doing what I can. And this tie rod is officially done. There we go. So I can get that hooked up. Yeah, that is about one of the last things on my list for being ready for our big weekend. So tools, yeah, I think just loading up tools and stuff, that should be it. All right, the last little piece was getting these two little spacers machined out. And yeah, they are very close in tolerance, very square, true to the world, and they should do the job. So let's slam those things in. Alrighty, the tie rod's in. So these are just some old bolts I had for rear links and everything, and I gotta obviously get some shorter ones, so I'll get those tomorrow. The ram's all hooked up. It's all, yeah, everything's looking good. I'll cycle it. What actually kind of started this whole project was, well, my tie rod was already bent, and I've been dealing with that for a year or more. I've bent it back and forth so many times, it was like a flexi straw. But what actually happened New Year's was the nut on the end of this ram, I've never checked it, but somehow it had backed off. The ram had rotated around, and I think it was this line. When the tie rod went, it smashed into this fitting and busted the line off, and that's this end. So I dug around in all my stuff, and I had a plug for the other line, but this other one I did not. So what I ended up doing, and if you guys are ever in a crappy situation as something like this, I took a little piece. Actually, there's still a little bit in there, but I'll dig that out. Well, this line's junk anyway. But so since I couldn't cap this off and I didn't have a plug or a cap for the box, I took a little piece of plastic. I think I cut it off with like a plastic tool holder, like these. It may have actually been off of this wrench packet somewhere. I don't remember what it was. Oops. But it was just something like a piece of plastic off of this wrench setup, you know. And I ended up, I cut a little piece, I stuffed it in there, and I torqued it down just to put enough torque on it to hold it on and compress it and seal. And I wheeled the rest of the day like that. So not having the proper plug, I mean, yeah, it'd be good if you're running any kind of hydraulic stuff, try and get the fittings that you can to plug it. But if you don't, this honestly actually worked way better than I thought it would. So I had to tighten it down about twice, just barely smudge it. You could smell oil burning, it was spraying out a little bit. But yeah, that in a pinch, it worked great. So keep that in mind. Well, I guess I get to end this video without trying this steering out. So I had a couple of hydraulic lines made after these ones blew up. And yeah, they're all nice and new and shiny, but I don't know if you can tell, but there's a little bit of a difference in the fittings on the end there. So I'm actually going to be driving by where I had them done tomorrow. So hopefully they can either cut these off and redo them, or I don't know, get some other lines, whatever I got to do. But naturally, that's just kind of how things go. So yeah, but other than that, it's we're looking pretty good. I'm not in a panic or anything. I think I still got 2 weeks to go, so I'm pretty well there. So another good weekend in the shop, and yeah, we'll keep going. We'll get this working probably tomorrow, and yeah, I think we're down to loading tools.